just revise the thing and we'll complete this module. Actually, this last topic is the project constraints. As I told you yesterday, that there are 3 constraints. Of course, quality is there, but it is understood that quality will be maintained. So if you assume that quality is maintained, then basically there are 3 constraints of a project, and project manager has to have a balance act to satisfy all the 3. And we also discussed that how by changing any side of this iron triangle, the other 2 gets affected, right? So if you play with the scope, then the budget will get affected. Suppose you increase some of the features, then it obviously requires more fund, and the schedule will also get extended. Similarly, you can pick anything out of all the 3, and you will see they are having an interrelationship. Okay, so quality is at the center, as I told you. So it is because it affects every side of the triangle, and any change made to any side of the triangle are likely to affect the quality. Quality is not a factor of the triangle. It is the result of what you do with the schedule, budget, and scope. So ultimately, you should maintain the quality at the end, because you can compromise with the quality at any time. So that is not allowed in fact. For example, the project may find additional time in the schedule that can allow staff the time to increase the quality of the objectives without necessarily increasing the scope. You can keep the same scope, but you can increase and decrease the quality of your final deliverable. On the other hand, a need to cut activities to meet the budget might result in a decreased scope, which reduces the opportunities to achieve an acceptable level of quality. Therefore, the lower quality results from the need of cutting costs and reduced planned activities. So as I gave you some examples of mostly these government funded projects, scope wise they will be okay. In terms of dimension specification, they will be okay. But they are very good at compromising the quality. So once they compromise the quality, then of course they save up on budget, that is the profit. So scope, schedule, and budget are the 3 essential elements of any project. To succeed as a project manager, one has to know about how all 4 of these constraints apply to projects. Benefits and risks, sometimes this is a new theory of course, that these benefits and risks are also considered as project constraints. Constraints in the sense the project manager has to look into these 2 things, that are the benefits and risks. These are new theory. So the last 2 elements of the 6 constraint model. So it will follow a kind of 6 model theory, 6 constraint model theory. 4 is already there, means the schedule, budget, scope, and quality. And you add another 2, the benefits and risks. So that makes it a 6 constraint model. So in that there's a new thing. So you should also understand what is this benefits and risks as constraints. So 6 constraint model are the newest and the least familiar ones, and could be considered controversial, except that they are both already present in projects. We are not creating them, we are just bringing them to the forefront and demonstrating how they interact with the classic constraints. Classic constraints are time, cost, scope, and quality. When these 2 new constraints, that is benefits and risk, are not considered, they are likely to be neglected and produce a negative impact on the project and the organization. We will examine these potential consequences. These 2 benefits and risks. So what is the benefit and how it is considered as a constraint? So benefits represents the value the project is expected to deliver to the organization. It is benefit. As the project has deliverables that it produces, the benefits represents the value that those items are expected to have for the organization, either in financial term or in other terms. That is benefit. Actually, the term benefit is used in managerial language for some kind of profit, right? Profit is not only financial. Maybe because of the project, your brand value increases, your reputation increased, your share price increase. So they are all benefits, right? So a kind of perception about your company increases. So you cannot although measure it in terms of money, but by starting that new project, maybe your overall image in the brand value in the market, share market, and in the public perception increase. So that is a benefit. So a clear justification with measurable agreed benefits that are expected to result from the project's output. If there is no clear justification, then the project should not be started. And if the justification disappears or it reduced below an agreed upon limit, the project should be stopped. That limit will become a constraint. So try to understand this. I hope I am audible to you. Is it? Am I connected? Okay. So try to understand what is the meaning of benefit and how it is considered as a constraint. So benefit is something, a positive thing you are finally getting out of the project. That positive benefit may be in terms of capital flow, money, profit, or as I said, there are some other intangible benefits that you may get, like your brand value, company perception, share value. So if you are going for a project and a project manager is carrying out a project, so there must be some kind of threshold, some kind of limit in your project that you should not fall below that. If you are falling below that, although you have completed the project, you have satisfied the scope, the budget, the deadline, everything, quality, but at the same time, it is not getting any, it is not generating any benefit for the company. Try to understand this, right? So that way, this benefit is also considered as, if, although it is not that vivid, but yes, it is there, and it is the role of the project executors to maintain at least that limit of benefit. So that is the meaning of benefits as a constraint. You just cannot just, complete the project by compromising on this factor. That is, whether it is going to benefit or not. Of course, the main consideration of this at the happens at the beginning of the planning, because at the planning stage itself, the policymakers has to see whether some benefits will be generated. But still, during the execution of the project also, it has to be maintained in that sense that it should generate the benefits for the company. So that is one constraint. So these are new theories which are added apart from the classical three constraints. The last one is risk as a constraint. Risk, as you know, on a project needs to be addressed and managed. There will be always some risk because you are looking into the future. You are projecting all your plans into the future, and you never know that what kind of risk will appear, right? So in any project, there may be a level of risk that the stakeholders not willing to live with or tolerate. That is known as risk tolerance. Right? So what is risk tolerance? Risk tolerance is there may be a level of risk, right? That the stakeholders, who are the stakeholders, maybe who is funding the client, the service provider, or any other company who is involved in that project, they are the stakeholders. So there may be a level of risk that these stakeholders not willing to live with. They don't want to take this much risk. They consider that, okay, up to this level of risk we can tolerate, but beyond that we will not like to tolerate it because it is beyond our control. That will be very detrimental for our interest. So they consider some level of risk that they can handle, they can tolerate, right? So its simplest and most common expression is in examining the probability of a significant risk occurring, their potential impact on the project if they do occur, and the degree of willingness to live with those potential consequences. An agreement on the level of risk the sponsor, the stakeholders, project board are willing to live with in the course of project. That is called the risk tolerance. If the project manager cannot control or mitigate or transfer these major risks, then the sponsors or the stakeholder or the project board need to decide if they are willing to live with the greater risk exposure or want the project to close down. So very clearly it is mentioned in the last paragraph. You can understand what is this risk which is considered as a constraint. As I said in the beginning, all these parties or all these stakeholders who are involved or interested or involved in that project, they have their own limit of tolerating the risk, right? Beyond that, they may hesitate. Beyond that, they may hesitate to fund it or to continue with that project. So therefore, when you are considering from the perspective of a project manager who is handling the project, right? There will be risks. This will come definitely. So how that project manager is trying to mitigate that risk or address that risk, right? So that these people who are funding the project or who are the having a main saying in the project, they will not uh, um, have any kind of problems because of these risk exposures. So that's why this risk is also considered as a constraint of the project, and it is the role of the project manager to handle it and not to make the others who are the sponsors or the stakeholders of the project board to back off the project or to discontinue the project because they found that the risk that they are coming across is beyond their tolerable limit. Is it clear? So this is the last constraint. So totally you can say that there are 6 constraints, although these last 2 are kind of new addition. But classically there are 4 constraints of a project. All right. So I think there are, yes. This is the end of module 1. So the last topic was project constraints. Now with this I came to the end of this first module. Ideally, it should be taking 7 classes if I remember the syllabus. But anyway, maybe 2-3 classes more I have taken because it was the, initiation stage, right? So it takes time. So all of you be informed that next week we'll have a multiple choice quiz. There are 71 students in the class now. So you note down the time and day, and also you inform others if possible. Of course, I will give a message in this MS Team itself that when will be the next quiz and what time. Of course, we'll have this quiz in the class time, and that is I think next week. We can think for Wednesday. Is it okay? Is it any holiday on Wednesday? No. Right. So Wednesday, 16th February. No, I'm sorry. Not 16th, 9th. Yes, 9th. Okay? 9th February, Wednesday at 9 a.m. We'll have the first quiz. Is it okay with you? Someone please say. Right. So I'll also post it in this MS Team, and today itself, maybe after this class, I'll share the PPT that I have used in this module 1 so that I can refer it, and maybe the kind of things we have discussed in that. So there will be very simple questions of 10 marks. I hope all of you will be able to do it. All right. So do you have anything to say on this? Okay. So I am ending the class here.